Welcome to episode 19 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show. My name is Jeremy Poock and I lead Senior Attorney Match. In today's Ask Show, we'll have two parts, our question and answer part and our Poock's Post part. We'll have three questions today. And just to preview what our Poock's Post is going to be, it's going to be about lessons learned for law firm sales in 2024. All right, so let's start up with our questions. What's our first question today? So for our first question today, what does Senior Attorney Match do? So Senior Attorney Match, what we do is we design succession plans for senior attorneys, and then we broker the sales of law firms. When it comes to designing succession plans for lawyers, we start with our Next Step workshop. Our Next Step workshop is a 90-minute one-on-one workshop where we meet with the owner or owners of a senior attorney-led firm. And senior attorneys are typically lawyers who have practiced more than 30 years. And they're wondering, what is my practice worth and who wants to purchase my law practice? During this 90-minute workshop, we learn about the background of our clients' practices. We learn about what it is that they really like and enjoy about their practices. We also ask, if we had a magic wand, what could we take off of your plate? What would it be, things about the practice that you would never want to do ever again? We explore with our clients, what are your goals? What are your goals both inside the practice and outside the practice? What options do you have for selling your practice? And there's typically three options. Those options are sell, join, merge with a growing law firm, structure an internal sale with a associate, junior partner, or potentially recruit an attorney into your firm, or perhaps even just maintain your status quo. And then what are the risks associated with achieving your goals, the options that you determine, really that preferred option that you determine for the succession planning for your practice within the time frame that you want in terms of when you see yourself partially retiring or fully retiring. And we also discuss what's really important for you when it comes to succession planning for your practice. Do you want to become free from your practice? Do you want to monetize it to the greatest extent possible? It's usually a blend, almost like a seesaw between freedom and monetization. And coming out of the Next Step workshop, the goal is for our clients to really have clarity about what it is that they have, what is it that they want, and who would want to purchase their practice. Following the Next Step workshop, we then offer to our clients our design phase. In the design phase, which is the next part of how we help design succession plans for senior attorneys. In that design phase, we really do a deep dive into what our clients have to determine who would want to purchase their law practice. And we start the design phase by going over with our clients items really that they need to update. For us to learn about what you have, we really need to learn about and update certain parts of what the practice consists of. And those three important updates that we explore, those three important updates that we explore with our clients. The three important updates that we explore with our clients. First, it starts with, where's the money? Okay, where does the revenue come from for your practice? What we find is that every law firm focuses on one or more practice areas. And during the design phase, we really hone in on what are those key practice areas. How do you attract clients? Why do clients come to the firm? Where does the firm make its most money? It may, for example, have more clients in a certain practice area, but be more profitable in another practice area of the practice. What are the trends? What have been the historic trends in terms of revenues for the practice? What do we see as future trends for the practice? That all falls in this category of what do you have? Next is exploring the client list of what the law firm has developed. Every law firm has developed clients and referral sources over the course of the career of the lawyers and the longevity of the law firm. That book of business, that is client list and the referral source list, is the most valuable asset that a law firm has, because clients is what every growing law firm, any buyer of a firm, wants and needs clients. So a significant part of the design phase is determining, where are your clients? Do we have current addresses, email addresses, phone numbers, cell phone numbers? When was the last time we communicated with clients? How did the clients break down in terms of the practice areas of the given law firm? And if we haven't updated that client list, how can we update that client list? How long would it take to update that client list? And really, what is the number of clients and the types of referral sources that the firm has? Next is, we explore with our clients, how's your website look? Okay, many websites, it just becomes our last priority item for us to work on, because we're so focused on the legal work. But when it comes to selling your law firm, it's going to be two places that any buyer and lawyers from another firm that are considering to purchase your practice can be two digital addresses of where any of those purchasers are going to look. They're first going to look at your website, and they're second going to look at your bios on LinkedIn. So we work with our clients to make sure that those websites and LinkedIn profiles are updated. Similar to selling your house, it doesn't mean that you have to do a total redo of parts of, let's say, that your house. You don't have to do a total redo of your website, but certainly adding new pictures and taking away old content, adding some new content to the website. Very important, because that first impression that any type of buyer is going to have is going to come in through your website and also through your LinkedIn profile. During the design phase, we also discuss, what are your options? Okay. What are the options that you have in terms of selling your law firm? And what we explain to our clients is, you really have three options when it comes to selling your firm. The first, and really the preferred option, is to join a growing law firm. And what we're explaining to our clients is, the best buyer is typically what we call a like kind buyer. That is, if you're practicing in certain practice areas in a certain part of the country, then the right buyer is typically what we call a friendly competitor. That like kind buyer, friendly competitor, somebody that's practicing in similar practice areas as you, the senior attorney. You have what they want. That is, clients and referral sources to help build similar practice areas as both firms have. The potential option, and this is something we explore in the design phase as well, is there somebody internally that could take over the practice? And we explore that with our clients. But often what we find out is, those would-be internal successors are often key employee lawyers. And those key employee lawyers, typically, they do not want to purchase your practice. They can't afford to purchase your practice. What they really want is a reliable, predictable, and safe job. Hence why that is the potential option. And then we also explore why maintaining the status quo. Why is that risky for our clients? Because if you maintain the status quo for too long, what we share with our clients often is that you risk one or more Random Tuesday events. And a Random Tuesday event is when a key employee at the firm, lawyer or even non-lawyer, leaves the practice. What happens if the owner or becomes, or one of the owners of the firm, suffers from a physical or mental disability or premature death? That's where the risk of the status quo and it can play out from that Random Tuesday standpoint. Because if the owner is not available to transition that book of business to a seller, then unfortunately the value of the practice just plummets. And now let's look at, again, why it is that the growing law firm, is really the preferred buyer for a selling law firm. What we focus on in the design phase, in terms of identifying to our clients the types of growing law firms that are interested in what they have. Because growing law firms, they want and need three particular resources to boost their growth. They want and need new clients, right? Clients are the energy source for all law firms. Senior attorney-led firms are filled with clients. That book of business that you've developed over so many years, growing law firms want and need that. They also want and need an experienced workforce to work with your clients and to be able to handle that influx of new clients. Growing law firms need an experienced workforce. They need those key employee lawyers of yours that don't want to purchase your practice. Well, growing law firms are ready and willing to provide them with those reliable, predictable, and safe jobs that both the lawyers and non-lawyers at your firm that they want and need. And then also in today's what we call 3.0 digital era, post 2020 digital era for the legal industry, growing law firms also need the digital content that senior attorney led firms have. That is, you have developed tremendous subject matter knowledge over the course of your careers, and growing law firms want to convert that subject matter knowledge into digital content to attract the attention of would-be clients that are looking online today for lawyers and law firms to hire. So once we finish the design part of what we do for our senior attorney clients, we start with the next step workshop. And then we work with our clients in the design phase to really develop and know what they have and determine who wants it. Now we're ready to broker the sale of the law firm. And when we broker law firm sales, what we find is that it takes 6 meetings to get to an agreement. And typically it involves this brokerage process typically involves 6 meetings to sell a law practice. And those 6 meetings, what they consist of is that once we've identified firms that are interested, or at least that we consider and that our clients consider as well, would be interested to acquire the senior attorney led firm's practice, we start with meeting number 1, which is a meet and greet. Parties need to meet each other. Culture is king and queen, right? If on paper a purchasing firm looks great, but then you meet in the meet and greet and you just don't hit it off, culture will kill deals. And we want to find out as soon as possible. And that first of the 6 meetings needed to sell a law firm during a meet and greet happens often in person. It's a dinner, it's a lunch, it's a meeting, in somebody's office to just be able to learn, how do you guys practice? How do you do it? Where did you go to law school? Where did you go to high school? I mean, all this kind of stuff. What sports teams do you follow? All these different non-tangibles to know whether we could actually work and enjoy working with these folks. The next meeting is due diligence, hugely important, right? Both sides need to look under the hood, look at the finances, learn more about the practice areas. Importantly, learn if there's any conflicts of interest. Third meeting is we start negotiating a letter of intent. And this is really a make or break, okay? Because if we like each other, we've looked at due diligence items, now we start putting pen to paper, okay, and determine, okay, what would be the deal terms. And it's at this point, negotiating a letter of intent, that either the parties will negotiate it fully and be able to move on to meeting number 4, or they determine, you know what, we're just too far apart for our firms to be able to come together, for seller to sell to buyer, merge, associate with, however the structure is going to be, but let's just call it a law firm sale, that it's that third meeting, negotiating a letter of intent, that's really make or break. After third meeting, you've negotiated a letter of intent, then we sign the letter of intent, which is followed by then negotiating an agreement, which is often adding really just boilerplate language at that point. I mean, there may be some contingencies that need to be fulfilled, but by and large, the deal terms were negotiated in the letter of intent. So now we've negotiated the agreement and we have finally then signed the agreement. Timing wise, it typically takes from the beginning of this process of meeting a firm to getting to signing the agreement, it can take several months. And if a particular deal does not work out after meeting 3, that negotiating letter of intent, we may have to start from the drawing board, approach another firm, or continue conversations with one or more firms. And that's why the entire process of selling a law firm, we're often telling our clients that we should really be considering somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3 to 12 month time frame from the beginning to when you are actually signing an agreement with what's typically a growing law firm as the purchaser. And now after that agreement is signed, let's look at the 4 winners. Okay, when senior attorneys are selling their law firms to growing law firms, which is really what we see in the marketplace as the preferred option for senior attorneys selling their law firms, it's really 4 winners when those sales happen. Winner number one is the senior attorney seller, him or herself, right? They're able to monetize the practice. They're able to practice less because they'll often be practicing for X number of months or even years, but not be practicing as long hours as they did when they own the practice. And they have significantly more time off, and they also have that ease of mind that they know that they have taken care of their staff and their clients, which leads to the second winner in law firm sales, which are your key employee lawyers and staff people. What they really want is a reliable, predictable, and safe job. By and large, we are often seeing in the marketplace that growing law firms, they want and need your key employee lawyers and para staff. They're huge winners because they are often hired and they're able to restore that all important, reliable, predictable, and safe job. Third winner, another huge winner, is the clients, right? We have a duty to competently represent our clients. And when we are succession planning for our clients, that is when senior attorneys are joining, selling to a growing law firm and providing a new home for their clients to receive competent and zealous and ongoing representation, the clients are great winners because they have lawyers and representation for years and years to come. And then finally, the fourth winner is the growing law firms themselves. They, as the purchasers of senior attorney-led firms, what do they win? They acquire instant client growth by acquiring that all-important book of business. They acquire your key employee lawyers and support staff to combine with their workforce, and they're also are inheriting the opportunity to convert the subject matter knowledge that senior attorneys and lawyers at their firms have developed over the course often of decades into much needed digital content to be able to publish to multi-channel digital media platforms in today's post 2020 3.0 digital era, where clients are looking online for content to be able to know, like, and trust law firms that they want to hire. And senior attorney-led firms present literally treasure chests of digital content to growing law firms when they join those firms. And then finally, for the senior attorneys, after they have finished the sale process, they've joined a growing law firm, just to share the typical thoughts, the typical thoughts of senior attorneys when they've joined a growing law firm. And this typically happens, several months after joining, because you're transitioning clients and referral sources and really just transitioning into practicing at a new law firm. But those typical thoughts that our clients have after they have sold their law firms are really threefold. Number one is they're finally able to spend more time with their family. They can finally take a 2-3 week vacation, not have to come into the office on the weekends. Second is they benefit by having a deeper bench. They're joining law firms that have more lawyers, more support staff to be able to provide the legal services that their clients want and need. And then third, for those senior attorneys that continue to practice, right, they have the time to do what they really enjoy doing. That could be business development. That could be writing. That could be, heck, just, being in another state, even in another country, and being able to go out, enjoy most of the day, and then log in via Zoom and meet with clients, meet with lawyers at their firms to interact with them, but have that peace of mind that they no longer need to manage the office because they have sold their law firm to a growing law firm. Okay. So for our second question today is, I plan to sell my personal injury law firm within the next 1 to 2 years. What updates should I consider now? All right, so we're focusing now on personal injury law firms. If you're operating a personal injury law firm and you're considering selling your PI practice within the next 1 to 2 years, here are 3 important updates to make before selling a personal injury law firm. First and foremost is to organize your open personal injury law matters. For those sellers that are utilizing a CRM and really putting the data into that CRM, this process is much easier because you can be looking at a report the CRM can be generating to let you know about the status of your open matters. By and large, what we're seeing in the marketplace in terms of what's important to organize about your open matters is really 8 items, okay? We want to know of your open matters, what are the matter types? What's the injury? What's the status of the case? What's the insurance coverage? What's your estimated case values on your cases? What's the fee that you negotiated with your client? Is there a referring attorney who referred the case to you? And what are the expenses to date? So very important to organize that information. If your CRM doesn't do it, we often recommend put it on a spreadsheet so you have that information. And then there's key information that every buyer that we see in personal injury law sales is going to want to know. They're going to want to know the total number of open cases by matter type. Very importantly, they want to know what's the insurance coverage, okay? Because you could have liability and you could have damages, but of course, they want to know from a buyer standpoint, from a future cash flow standpoint, what's the coverage. Next is what's the percentage breakdown between the number of direct cases that you have and the number of cases referred in by third-party attorneys. And then lastly, buyers want to know what are the number of cases that you have in suit versus pre-lit. Beyond organizing the open matters, we also recommend if you're a PI attorney and you're considering selling your practice in the next 1 to 2 years, about your client list. Every buyer is going to want to know how deep is that client list? How many clients have you served over the course of your career, over the course of the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Whether that is a holiday card list that you've sent out, whether you're already sending out e-newsletters, if that's something that your law firm does, do you have the addresses, email addresses, cell phone numbers for your clients? And while you're organizing that information, very important to be reaching out to clients. If you're not already doing this, please ask your clients for 5-star Google reviews. Every buyer wants to see that. And heck, any potential client wants to see today that their personal injury law attorney, that they're well liked, that other clients have spoken well of what they've delivered and how well they've done for their clients. So if you're looking to sell your practice and you can show to a buyer you've got 100, 200, 500, 1,000 plus 5-star Google reviews, absolutely huge. If possible, we also recommend start connecting with your clients on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a great way to be communicating, as well as other social media platforms. We find that LinkedIn is a tremendous way to be sharing information with clients together with additional social media platforms. And then that leads to the last update, which is updating your website and updating your LinkedIn profile. The two addresses where any potential purchaser are going to look first. Those are digital addresses that they're going to look first when they are considering purchasing your law firm. So they're going to look at your website and they're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. So it's important to spend the dollars and allocate the time and resources to update the pictures, update the content. Importantly, remove the old content. I mean, it was great that you wrote an article in 2013, okay, about such and such, but we're 10 plus years removed from 2013 at this point. So removing the stale content, unless, by the way, that's a page that's often visited, right? We don't want to sacrifice something like that. But if it's just stale content, we certainly recommend it's important to prune that content, in advance of selling the law practice. So for our next question today, our next question is, what law firm sale trends do you foresee in 2025? Okay, so looking forward to 2025, we really see 3 law firm sale trends. The first trend that we see in 2025 is a continuation of the trend that growing law firms continue to recognize and will recognize more in 2025 and years to come, that growth by acquisition is a tremendous way to grow a law firm. Because when it comes to growing a law firm, every growing law firm needs the following 3 resources. They need new clients, they need an experienced workforce, and they need digital content. And when it comes to those 3 resources that every growing law firm wants and needs, senior attorney-led firms offer all 3. Senior attorney-led firms have developed books of business over the course of their career, so we can check the box on new clients. Growing law firms, senior attorney-led firms, they have internal key employee lawyers as well as experienced non-lawyer staff. We can check the box that they offer those resources to growing law firms. And then lastly is that most senior attorney-led firms today, they are sitting on literally treasure chests of digital value. That is, that they have subject matter knowledge that they developed over the course of their careers. Growing law firms have a need for digital content to be publishing to multi-channel digital platforms. And when senior attorneys join growing law firms, those growing law firms are often going to the senior attorneys and additional attorneys at their firms and saying, wow, you know so much on these different areas of subject matter knowledge. Would you consider writing a blog post? Would you consider writing an article for our e-newsletter? Would you go on to such and such a podcast? Do a video for our video FAQs? And as we're saying, convert that subject matter knowledge into digital content. So going into 2025 and throughout the rest of this decade, a growing trend it will continue to be that growing law firms want and need what senior attorney-led firms have, namely clients, experienced workforce, and access to treasure chests of digital value. The second trend that we see in 2025 in terms of the sales of law firms is that we are now in what we call the post-2020 age of the vanishing rainmaker. So what does that mean? What that means is that for most senior attorneys, they grew up in what we call the pre-Google word of mouth era. That was the era that we all so fondly reflect upon and remember, of going to all types of in-person events and handing out multiple business cards, taking in multiple business cards, generally networking. Post 2020, the world has absolutely changed. We pivoted in 2020, and we are in the 3.0 digital era for the legal industry, where business development today is so much on the virtual side that the rainmaker is vanishing, because the rainmaker is just being bypassed by Uncle Google. That is, that Google is becoming, and really has become, America's greatest referral source for clients looking for lawyers. And when clients today are going straight to Google and asking for the best fill in the blank attorney near me and looking for social proof by looking at law firm websites and multi-channel platforms of social media, literally are bypassing yesteryear's rainmaker. As a result, yesteryear's rainmaker is literally vanishing. And let's look at where that fact is leading to a particular trend. From a trend standpoint, if senior attorneys in particular are not investing in digital marketing for their practices, they're just going to generate less clients than they did in yesteryear. And if you're generating less clients in yesteryear because today's clients are bypassing yesteryear's rainmaker and they're going straight to Google. So if you're not being found by clients that are looking for lawyers to hire, then that trend of the vanishing rainmaker is resulting in senior attorneys not replenishing their books of business as much as they did in the past. And as a result, the trend in 2025 and in future years of this decade is that if your book of business is not replenishing as much as it did in yesteryear, your law practice is going to have less value. And hence, we are regularly saying definitively now that the best time for senior attorneys that are not committed to multi-channel digital marketing to sell their law firms is now. Because if their books of business continue trending not to replenish as much as they did in yesteryear, your law firm value will decrease over time. The third trend that we see in 2025 and going forward into the latter part of the 2020s is what we're calling the growth of law firm sales 2.0, which we'll get to in a moment, because of post 2020 business development for law firms that are committed to multi-channel digital marketing. For those law firms that recognize, and many more, day by day, month by month, year by year, law firms are catching on that if they want to get the attention of would-be clients, clients are looking for lawyers digitally today. And to generate new clients, what we're showing here is that to develop new business post 2020, law firms need to have a multi-digital um, outlook in terms of how to develop clients. And that includes Google, that's social media, that's your website, that's an audio video commitment to be publishing podcasts and videos so that clients, would be clients, can literally be listening to you, watching you, because clients today, they want to know, like, and trust lawyers and law firms before they contact them. They're not asking their mother and their father, their brother, their sister, their accountant, their gym buddy, whomever they used to ask in the past, who do you know? They want to go online and they want to see, hear, and read from lawyers who they're considering to hire and law firms they're considering to hire in advance of hiring them. And then finally, yes, there is still old school business development done by these growing firms that are committed to multi-channel digital marketing, plus some old school of, yes, hand out your business cards and do old-fashioned networking. The trend that business development digitally is leading to is law firm sales 2.0. Okay, apologize for that brief delay. So what a commitment to multi-channel digital marketing is leading to for today's growing law firms is a new crop of would-be sellers. And that new crop of would-be sellers is beyond today's typical senior attorneys who are in their 60s and 70s and late 50s. What we're addressing here is law firms that are led by lawyers that are now in their 40s, even their late 30s, and going into their 50s. And when they're considering to sell their law firms in law firm sales 2.0 will generate a fixed price based upon the value of their digital value and brand equity that they're developing because of the commitment to multi-channel digital marketing, plus earn-out payments over time. And now for today's Pooks post. For today's Pooks post, our Pooks post today is law firm sales lessons learned in 2024. So as we reflect on 2024, we really have four lessons that we have learned throughout the course of 2024. The first lesson that we've learned in 2024 is that growing law firms continue to offer the best, the most preferred, and the right buyers for most senior attorney-led firms. And the reason why growing law firms present the right purchasers for senior attorney-led firms is because that is, growing law firms want what senior attorney-led firms have. So if we think about chocolate and peanut butter, right? The chocolate that senior attorneys have is that they present new clients to growing law firms, an experienced workforce, and digital content. From the peanut butter standpoint, what is it that growing law firms present to senior attorney-led firms is really that buyer, the appropriate buyer who can absorb the senior attorney-led firm, pay consideration to the owner of senior attorney-led firms, often in the form of earnouts, where the growing law firm is paying a percentage of the collected revenues from the book of business, the defined book of business of a senior attorney-led firm, payable over a negotiated number of years. The second lesson learned The second lesson learned in 2024 is that trust transfer works. We continue to see that when it comes to law firm sales, where the selling attorney is selling the book of business that attorney or law firm has developed over the course of the attorney or the law firm's course of their careers, to effectuate the sale of the law firm, the selling attorneys need to transfer the trust of their clients and referral sources to the lawyers at the law firms that they sell their firms to. And the way that that's done is via trust transfer. And trust transfer happens in three ways. The first way is old school, in person, right? You meet at a conference table, you meet for lunch, breakfast, dinner, drinks, where senior attorney together with clients and one or more attorneys from the firm that has acquired the senior attorney led firm. Senior attorney says, I'd like to introduce you to my new partners, attorneys at my firm. I trust them. You, the clients, trust me. I recommend and ask that you please trust these new attorneys at the firms that I've joined. In person, it works. Even better in the post 2020 age is via Zoom or some other form of video conferencing. Trust transfer now can happen in minutes. Senior attorney seller can be anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. Go on to a Zoom meeting and also say to the client, you're in good hands with the attorneys at the firm that I've joined. They know the practice area just as well, sometimes even better than I do. You're in such good hands, and I'm going to leave it to you guys to go over the issues that the clients are presenting. And if you need me, I'm still available by text, by email, but I'm going to sign off of this Zoom meeting, get on to doing something else. Trust transfer happens via Zoom very well. And the third way that trust transfer happens is via social media. That is when senior attorneys are joining growing law firms, they're bringing that all important book of business to the firms that they join. The firms are then taking the client list, in particular the email addresses, the physical addresses as well, and often the cell phone numbers, and they are communicating with the clients of the senior attorney and senior attorney-led firm. Let's take as an example an e-newsletter. Sending an e-newsletter initially announcing that senior attorney and other attorneys at the firm have joined ABC growing law firm, and announcing that. Terrific. The announcement goes out. There's typically often business development that comes out of that. But now the clients are getting these e-newsletters every month, let's say, or every quarter. Clients then see, oh, my attorney is now at a firm that offers additional practice areas that he or she never offered. Well, if this firm is good enough for my longtime attorney and they offer this practice area, heck, I should call this other attorney or call my longtime senior attorney and say, hey, could you introduce me, please, to the divorce attorney at your practice? Because unfortunately, my daughter is getting divorced and I just want to make sure I'm going to be in good hands with a solid divorce attorney. Oh, yeah, of course. Let me introduce you to Judy at the firm, right? Tremendous opportunity for the client to be able to be serviced by Judy in our example, and for the senior attorney, the benefit there is because of that trust transfer and because terms are typically, in terms of consideration, those consideration terms are typically based upon senior attorney receiving a percentage of revenues derived from the clients. Senior attorney is financially benefiting from Judy in this example, providing divorce services to the daughter of a senior attorney's client, all because of an e-newsletter tied to that all-important client list that the senior attorney delivered as part of the sale to the growing law firm. Trust transfer works. The next trend, the next lesson learned in 2024 is that internal successors that senior attorneys see are really their longtime key employee lawyers that do not see themselves as internal successors. And there's really four reasons for what we call these false expectations among your key employee lawyers. Key employee lawyers at senior attorney-led firms, they typically only want a job. They went to law school and not business school. They can't afford to purchase a senior attorney-led law firm. And for whatever reason, they just assume that their boss will never retire. And now let's look also at the real fundamental reason why your key employee lawyers do not want to purchase your law firm. The key reason why your longtime key employee lawyers at your law firm do not want to purchase your law firm is because all they typically want is a reliable, predictable, and safe job. And when a senior attorney walks down the hall at some point and says to their key employee lawyers, I'd love to have a conversation with you about succeeding to the practice because I'm considering retiring at the end of the lease term when I turn such and such age, or 2 years from now is when I'm see myself retiring, and I really would love nothing more than for you to take over the practice. Well, what does that do to what we call the job security meter when we're measuring reliable, predictable, and safe jobs for key employee lawyers? When senior attorney makes that announcement, instead of what senior attorneys want, which is the key employee lawyers say, yes, I'd love to be your internal successor. We'd love to take over your practice. Instead, that job security meter goes from being reliable, predictable, and safe in the green zone to going into the red zone. And what we often see, unfortunately, is that when those announcements are made and there's not honest enough conversation between key employee lawyers and senior attorney owners of firms, the key employee lawyers, because their reliable, predictable, and safe job has now gone into the red as compared to being in the green and being safe, that they'll start looking for another job. And often they will hit their longtime employer up with literally a 2 or 4 week notice that they have taken a job at another law firm, which really is a gut punch to the senior attorney. But the reality is that your key employee lawyers do not want to purchase your law firm. They can't afford to. They really want a reliable, predictable, and safe job. In terms of another lesson learned, another lesson learned in 2024 is that the ongoing shift in consumer behavior in terms of how is it that today's consumers, today's would-be clients of law firms, how are they looking for lawyers and law firms to hire? They continue to look online. They continue to go straight to Google, just as we Google for everything and anything today. Clients of law firms, they are going straight to Google as well. Yes, in the word of mouth era, they used to ask all sorts of people, family members, other professionals, even strangers that they may see, and say, do who do you know that's a great lawyer in such and such an area? Today, they're going straight to Google. They're going straight to law firm websites, and they're also looking for social proof of lawyers and law firms on multiple channels of digital platforms that they're regularly going on to, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Threads, X, TikTok as well, and watching videos of lawyers. And if senior attorneys are not there in terms of digitally there available for viewing when clients are searching Google for attorneys and law firms to hire, if you're not found, you're simply not going to be hired. And that really leads to what we call the writing on the wall. That is this lesson learned in 2024 is that the writing is on the wall that today's clients search for their lawyers online. The pre-Google era of here's my business card, it's not completely over, but as a very honest question to people watching this, when was the last time that you are listening to this? When was the last time that you ordered 500 new business cards because you handed out the last 500? Right? That writing is on the wall that clients today search for their lawyers online. And when it comes to the sales of law firms, right? What is it in terms of the book of business? When senior attorney-led firms are selling their law firms, your most valuable asset is your book of business, right? What is it that a buying, growing law firm, what do they want? What do they need most? They need new clients because the energy source for all law firms is clients. And when senior attorneys are selling a book of business that is filled with clients, you're going to get the most value possible from their law practice, where growing law firms are often paying a percentage of the revenues that are derived from that book of business from your clients and referral sources, payable over a negotiated number of years. Well, based upon this lesson learned in 2024, if you as a senior attorney in a senior attorney-led firm, if you are not replenishing your book of business, if your book of business is not replenishing as much as yesteryear, as if your book of business is not replenishing as much as yesteryear because you're not investing in multi-channel digital marketing, where clients today are searching for their lawyers and for law firms online, And if you're not being found and you're not being hired, then this lesson learned in 2024, which we absolutely see continuing for the rest of this decade and heck into the 2030s as well, is that if you're not replenishing your book of business, then the value of your law firm is going to go down over time. As a result, what we see from the lesson learned of digital marketing is here in terms of meeting the need of clients that are searching for lawyers primarily on Google for lawyers and law firms to hire. This is the best time for senior attorney led firms to sell their practices while their books of business are in the green. Because once your books of business go into what we're showing here, orange, because you're not replenishing your clients as much as you did in yesteryear, the value of your practice will unfortunately decrease, and you're just not going to get as much consideration from your practice that you really deserve. Hence why we're recommending the best time to sell your practice is in the mid 2020s if you're not committed to multi-channel digital marketing. And that is episode 19 of the Ask the Law Firm Seller Show.